to me at least, it is very clear. I realize that there are certain people who look at the same text that I am looking at and they don't believe it. You must definitely look at the Bible for this, because Jesus is so clear in what he is trying to say. There is no, he is not mincing words at all. This is John chapter 6, where Jesus clearly puts his view forward. He has just performed the miracle of the multiplication of loaves. Before that, he walked on water, he came across, he performed the multiplication of the loaves, and the people have come to Jesus, not because of his love for them, but because he multiplied the loaves. It's like, come on, Lord, like if somebody can give us food to eat. And like fish, or like, I'm going to love it, So the people are actually following Jesus because he's given them food. And Jesus, over here in the Bread of Life discourse in John chapter 6, he makes a statement which says, do not work for the food that perishes, because they have come for the food that actually perishes. So he's telling them, do not work for the food that perishes, but for the food that endures for eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you, which he's referring to himself. And you're going to see the people who are the people will be asking him for a sign now. They'll say, hello, you're the bread of life, etc. This. He says, going to give me a sign. So they say to him, what must we do to perform the works of God? Jesus answered them, this is the work of God. Okay, now this is extremely important. This is the work of God, that you believe in him who he has sent. So Jesus is saying, I'm going to now give you a very difficult teaching. You got to believe. And now comes the discourse, the trouble that people have struggled with so long. So they say, hello, what sign are you going to give? Moses gave us manna from heaven. Yes. See, again, their focus is on the food that came from heaven. What sign are you going to give us? Moses gave us the manna from heaven. And then there's a long discourse that goes on to happen. But then Jesus will say, listen, I am the bread of life that's come down from heaven. You want real life? You want real life? You want the life that never gets over? They'll say, yes. We want that life, I suppose they were thinking that they eat one bread and they're never hungry again. But Jesus is saying, you want that life? He's saying, hello, yes, I am that life. This is the bread that has come down from heaven so that one may eat of it and not die. That's what Jesus tells them. And they say, give us this bread, Lord. Give us this bread, Lord. He says, my body, my blood. Is that what you're asking for? I am the bread of life. And the people are like, how can we eat you? Yeah. No, we cannot eat you. Yes. And they begin to grumble. And then Jesus doesn't say, listen, I'm talking symbolically. He doubles down on it. He says, listen very, very carefully. This is the text. For my flesh is true food and my blood is true drink. Those who eat my flesh and drink my blood abide in me and I abide in them. The first time he says eat, now he talks about like a simple meal, like fine dining meal. Take a fork and a spoon and eat. The second time he says, you eat it with like a wild animal eats the food, now groaning and gnashing of it, and you eat it, you cherish it. And the people are like, gosh, we cannot do this. And I really understand from where the Jews are coming. Like, you are my best friends. Now, imagine me telling you, Ignatius and Ashton, you want eternal life, you have to eat my flesh and drink my blood. And you guys will say,
we don't want that.
Yeah, we don't want that. This is the precise reaction that the Jews gave. A precise reaction.
I just sorry to cut you, but I remember that the Greek word, I don't remember the Greek word, but I know that when Jesus said that eat actually meant to gnaw. To gnaw means to
gnaw, yeah. Bite. So you gnaw it like a wild animal, you're chewing, you're masticating the food, you're enjoying the food. And so I can imagine what the Jews felt like, the same way that you felt, and they would have been saying, firstly, it's against the law. They're not supposed to eat anything with blood in it. Secondly, you cannot eat human flesh. And like, this teaching is too difficult, they say, and they go away. And Jesus does not stop them. Jesus is not saying, hey guys, I've been talking symbolically. Where are you going? Come back. No, Jesus doesn't say that, because he meant it. He really meant that this is my blood, this is my flesh that will be given up for you. And he turns to his disciples and say, are you not going to go away? And then Peter says one of the most beautiful lines. He says, Lord, to whom shall we go? You alone have the words of eternal life. So we see that Jesus actually meant, Jesus actually meant what he's saying. In other places, he spoke in symbolic terms. One of the terms he spoke symbolically is, if your eye causes you to sin, take it off. If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. Here he was being symbolic, because he didn't go around with a fork to pluck out someone's eye or a sword to cut out someone's eye. That was purely symbolic. So there people didn't complain because they realized that he's being symbolic. But here they're like, how can? Because they realized, and I think right from the early church till the 1500s, people really believed that it is the body and blood of Christ. So for me, on a personal level, when I see the Eucharist over there, whether it's at the Blessed Sacrament or at the Mass, when the priest is saying, this is my body, this is my blood, I believe that is Jesus, his body, blood, his soul, his divinity, his entire being made present by his grace, by his love, so that we can be in such close proximity with the